you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K,
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Raw Knuckles. Hosted by Chris Nilan.
Nilan's going ballistic. I love it. He's going to hit his own players. He's a madman. He's He's a freaking madman. Look at him going to town. That'll be a suspension. That'll be a fine. Bring them all out, Nilan, you freak.
It's gonna be sick.
Yes, he is a madman. And the Raw Knuckles podcast today is coming to you live and real talk, coming to you live from the Palais de Congrès, the Comiccon. And hearing that intro really kind of brings back some great memories, but also being a madman. I'm in a place today where there looks like there's a lot of madmen around, so I'm fitting right in. And going back to my radio career, now doing podcasting, the reason I came back here to Montreal is sitting next to me today. He, when I went through some difficult times and got my life back together, I was looking to become employed. And my guest today was someone who extended his hand and brought me into the radio loop. And I'm just so happy to see him. I haven't seen him in a while. Mitch Melnick, welcome to the show, Mitch.
Welcome, Chris.
Good to see you, buddy.
Thank you for the invite. I thought it would be a quick, 10, 12-minute guest appearance, and you're just telling me it's for the full hour?
Yeah, I'm going to keep you here all day. You shitting me? I haven't talked to you in a while.
And the madmen here they have nothing to do with the ad agencies in New York in the 60s, right?
No, not
These
at
are
all.
Really some weirdos around here,
Yeah.
especially this guy right here.
This guy. And then if we look through the
Oh, yeah. William
poster
Francis Lee
here.
III from
Yeah,
Burbank,
Bill-
California.
Bill
Did you know
Lee.
that Bill Lee was born in Burbank, California?
Yes, I do.
Doesn't that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Burbank, you know it. But Bill joined us yesterday for a little bit. He had some pizza. We gave him a slice of pizza. He had 10 hot peppers on it. He had more hot peppers on there than tomato sauce. But anyway, it was good to see Bill. Brings back some memories from my childhood growing up a Red Sox fan. So it was awesome to see him. And certainly
How
his
old were
time
you
here
in
with the Expos.
1975?
75, I was 18.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were just leaving
Yeah.
childhood
Yeah,
when he pitched in Game 7 of the 75 World Series.
Yeah. You know the history of him a whole lot better than me, but I just remember him in Boston. People loved him. The fans just absolutely loved him. And I don't know about management and and the coaches, but everybody loved Billy. So Mitch, geez, again, we go back. I came back here in 2011, and I'll never forget the first night before my first show. Now, for those of you who don't know, Mitch helped me get this opportunity in radio when I moved back here, and I go back to that first night, and I remember we talked, and you said, "You'll be great at this. Relax. It's no big deal." And the night before the show, I'm telling you, I was so nervous. And Jamie had never. I said, I'm scared. I was scared.
You had the TSN 690 flu?
Oh,
I heard you talking about the Philly flu with Ben Wilson.
Yeah, I had the microphone flu, and I got to tell you, I went in there. I've never been nervous like that, and for anything, going into Philadelphia, going into Boston, getting arrested back in the day, I was never scared like I was that first day, and for days afterwards, it really took me such a long time to get comfortable with the semantics, everything that goes on at radio. I was always looking at the clock. And it's funny. If it wasn't for Campbell being there, I would have been just like hung out to dry. It would have been terrible.
Yeah, but
now,
you were.
How bad was I? That's what I want to.
You think it was much worse than it was.
Yeah.
And the only thing you struggled with, because you had never done it, which anybody who had never previously done it, even if they had on-air conversations over the years as a guest, everybody would have struggled a little bit with the semantics of radio, the format of radio, the time checks, which we don't have to do. I'm so glad a consultant came in a couple of decades ago and stopped Stop doing time checks. Everybody knows what time it is. What a
Yeah.
waste of time. It's a time check. Like something. Oh, it's 4:20.
Yeah.
I got to light up.
Yeah.
But the ins and outs of segments is what you struggled with
Yeah,
a little
it was
bit.
really hard.
And I think they made the right decision when Sean, who had experience in radio, started coming in and out of the segments, and he threw everything to you.
Yeah.
And that's when you were you.
Yeah.
That's when you came out.
Because I didn't have to worry about all that. It just took me off my game so much. And to have Campbell there, and then eventually, like you said, when he took care of the ins and outs and we got going, we had a lot of fun with it. But I'll never forget the nerves and how scared I was. And I hope I never have that feeling again. I got to tell you.
Well, everybody, so now when you're about to go on, there's probably when you played, when you're at your most confident.
Yeah.
There's always that. It's I guess fear of losing if you're a professional athlete.
Yeah.
But you can't wait to get going.
Yeah.
There's an excitement, right? Especially when there's a big show, there's a big moment. You have a lot of big guests. I'm sure you get as soon as once you're into it, you're just having a conversation.
Yeah.
That's what talk radio is about. Just have a conversation and listen.
Yeah.
The key is listening.
Well, I got to tell you, I was always a good talker. I thought I was a good listener, and I became a good listener. And that's one of the things you taught me in there and told me to converse, because I'll never forget the day too. I was sitting in the office and I had notebook out and I'm writing questions down, and you come in and look and you go, "What are you doing?" I go, "I'm writing questions down. I'm gonna have an interview here with so and so," and you're like, "What? That's questions." Knuckles, just have a conversation. Have a couple things there in your head, which I ended up doing, and I started to converse more and listen more, and that's where I became a much better radio guy. But listeners, because I was always, when I was talking to someone, I would always be like, "Okay, what am I going to say next?" Instead of really listening. What's my next question? Instead of listening and then responding off of what someone said.
Well, for example, what you do is what I do is I don't write questions out. I think but you can have some words in front of you that are triggers. Like I had Mike Keenan on. Yeah. Right. As you did. I had Mike Keenan on the radio 3 weeks ago, and I love the book. I love the honesty. And there were a couple of items I wanted to make sure, because I'm not alone. I'm working with Andy Bennett and John Still, and I like to involve them. So I know they're going to ask him one or two questions, and there's just a trigger, like a family. Yeah. That's the family. Be sure to ask where he got this drive, this internal drive and competitive fire from. And he talked about his mom. Yeah. So that's, I still do that. Just a single word will, you glance down at some point, you see the word, and either you've covered it or you're about to cover it. But if you've just got questions written down, you're not listening. You're worried about asking the next question, and very often the listener will be left hanging, going, "Geez, why didn't they pick up on what he just said?" And sometimes we have regulars on, and there is a time constraint in commercial radio, and it still happens occasionally, even to people who are very good at what they do. But the key is just have a conversation. I grew up listening to talk radio. I know you grew up listening to talk radio, and you were you were a news junkie. Larry Glick for me in Boston. Bill Lee sat in for Larry Glick one night. That's when I first heard of Bill Lee, like on the air, and it planted a seed. It's kind of ironic that two of my better friends from covering sports in the city turned out to be the two guys from Boston, who became well known with such deep roots in Boston. You and Bill from Burbank, California. But the I think the second winningest lefty in the history of the Red Sox. He is in the Red Sox Hall of Fame. Only Mel Parnell, I think, won more games. But that's so I was already trained as a radio guy on a talk show. Yeah. Even before I ever went into the studio for the very first time, because that's all I listened to. I listened to live sports and I listened to talk radio. All the 50,000 watt stations, all the U.S. stations at night, they would beam. Like I would get Hartford, I would get 3W in Cleveland. There was a freak named Pete Franklin, who was the first ever hire by WFAN in New York. Yeah. when
The Fan.
The Fan in New York was the very first all sports radio station in North America. And they brought in probably the most controversial, loudmouth, very knowledgeable, colorful guy. But he flopped because he was from Cleveland and he wasn't from New York.
So they didn't accept him.
That's right.
Yeah.
They didn't embrace him.
Yeah.
But that's what I grew up listening to. All those stations. WJR Detroit. I think it's Detroit. Buffalo at the end of the dial.
Yeah.
I was raised on that.
Yeah.
Pre-game, post-game, Canadiens, Expos stuff, and U.S. talk radio stations.
Well, just to prove that I am listening, talking about commercial radio, where is it headed?
I think as long as there's a strong local presence and stations keep their footprint in the community, people driving want to hear local. They do want to hear local.
Yeah.
It's obviously, for what we do, I can't project ahead. It doesn't look great, to be honest with you, but what we're doing as a radio station at TSN 690, withstanding the loss of you and Tony, there are people who still listen in really a specific demo in really good numbers. And I think people driving to and from work, they want to hear. They want to hear what's going on in their own city. So, but I can't predict. It would be sad, certainly, if we lost sports radio in Montreal. But I know on the French side, they're doing pretty darn well.
Yeah.
And we're doing well. I mean, we drive CJAD nuts because we have so many women listening to our show.
Yeah.
And it's like a big mystery. They're scratching their head. Why does Melnick have all these women?
Why is that happening?
Come on.
Huh? Because you wear it. Because you wear a suit jacket to.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I overdressed
podcast?
for Knuckles. I'm taking my mom to brunch later at a very fancy joint. Andy Bennett is a big factor, and we've always had women because there are a lot of women sports fans, and now the rest of the world seems to be catching up. We talked about women and women in sports long before we had professional leagues of women-only leagues. I think I used to go to almost every game at Olympic Stadium and Jerry Park. Before that, there were always women keeping score. Yeah. There were always women. My mom was a huge fan.
Well, women's hockey now, too, here in Montreal, right? So
my daughter's
probably
played
got
hockey.
Something to do with it.
My daughter's played hockey in Westmount. And my youngest daughter at the time, unfortunately, she was better than my oldest daughter. It happens a lot, right? The youngest one was a natural athlete. The older one had to work so hard for everything. Right. And she was better than most of the girls who were 3 years older than her. But there was no league for her, so they allowed her to continue to play with them, even though she was 3 years younger than them. Now I'm sure there's leagues for all ages of women. I'm proud of that we have a lot of women listening to us.
Good stuff. So today you're having lunch with Mom. I just lost my mom last week.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that.
Even though it's a blessing, the finality of it is it's eye opener, and it was a difficult time for the family, all she had been through. But that being said, I know Barry
Reese?
Yeah, Barry Reese did a little kind of mini doc on Mom and your life and the history of the Melnick family, basically, right?
It's fabulous what he's doing. It's a real gift. He wanted to thank me for basically hooking up with you. And he's got this legacy film project that he is launching. And I just watched the first cut of my mom's life and the Melnick family and the Aronovich family. My mom will be 92 later this month. She's incredibly sharp. Again, she grew up going to Delormier Downs, watching the Montreal Royals and Jackie Robinson. She played baseball, a league of their own. They used to have a women's baseball, not softball league in Chamonix. And so Barry has put together this legacy film documentary, and it's great to have as a keeper for telling family stories for the children, for the grandchildren, the great grandchildren. Eventually, there's an actual film, and I'm very thankful that he did this.
Yeah, it's so cool. Like I've seen a few of them now, and both my parents have passed before we could do it. We have some footage from the Last Gladiators, but a lot of that's my father giving it to me. So I don't know if I want to watch that too much. But topic, obviously big topic in this city right now is the Montreal Canadiens, like they always are. But 3 years into beginning of the third year into a rebuild. Everybody says rebuild 5 years.
Yeah, how's it going in Buffalo?
Oh, I know, right? But looking at the team that Ken Hughes and Jeff Gorton have put together here, and looking at the way this fan base has been really passive the first couple years, and then this year there seemed to be a little bit of a regression in the progress we thought we were making as an organization. Where do you think they stand right now when you look at this team, and what's probably their biggest need?
Elite talent. That's they need, and Demidov is going to be here. I like what I see, honestly.
Yeah.
I didn't like everybody. If you were watching the games early, last year I think they were the number 1 team in the NHL that suffered 1-goal losses. So they were in a lot of games last year.
Yeah.
This year at the start of the season, they were losing. They were getting blown out a lot. They were being embarrassed on home ice by teams that weren't great. A couple were great teams. But I think it's the manner in which they were losing. I think people overreacted to that because ultimately a loss is a loss. But it got, and Marty St. Louis is part of the rebuild. You take a coach, he can't be better. Whoever is coaching on the other side is a much more experienced head coach than Marty St. Louis is. Yeah. So that this rebuild with Marty St. Louis as the coach is also timed for when it's actually ready to win. He'll have figured a lot of this out. And so he is also learning on the job. I like the fact that they went out and got a Marty St. Louis, who's like a hockey savant.
Yeah.
And to time it with these very, very young players. I think what they're doing right now, you see a better example of how they're capable of playing when they get saves. And also, there's the fact that they have 2 top 6 forwards, and they've been top 6 forwards and most of the year on the number 1 power play unit. Between Slafkovsky and Kirby Dach, they have 3 goals. And they've been a better than 500 club over the last dozen games or so. Yeah. So at some point, I don't know about Dach. This could just turn out to be a lost year for Kirby Dach. Yeah. There's still a lot of hockey left, but it might be. Slafkovsky's got to get going. Like last night, there was he doesn't move his feet. He doesn't move his feet, and he's just not. There was a one-time opportunity on the power play.
I saw it.
A year ago, he would have whipped that shot into the net for a goal. He choked up to try to get control of the puck. Yeah. And there was nobody around him. Yeah. So once he gets going, and I personally think the only thing that'll get him going is putting him back with Suzuki and Caulfield. Yeah. It was one of the best lines in the NHL for the last
at the end of the season.
Third of the season. I mean, it seems he hasn't played good hockey away from them. And so the fact that they're competitive again, for the most part, without 2 key components, and even you can throw in Alex Newhook. I know he had a good game last night. He scored a goal. He hasn't produced. You have a center, Christian Dvorak, who's got 2 goals. Yeah. Jake Evans has played well. He's played very well.
Great.
But you look down the line, what's missing? What you said. Well, if Patrick Laine stays healthy, that's a big factor.
Certainly helps, yes.
But they need another. Yeah. They need another scorer.
And they could use that other scorer up the middle, no question about it.
Another elite defenseman. And another elite defenseman.
For sure. I look at this, and I said at the start of the season, this team is going to have difficult time winning hockey games consistently, having both Mike Matheson and Lane Hudson in the lineup at the same time. Do you agree or disagree?
Well, I think Matheson, I don't know, they'll say it's out of necessity. I think he plays too much. Like the other night, two games gone. I'm not sure what his ice time was last night. He played 28 minutes. You don't need to have Mike Matheson on the penalty kill. That's not a strength. And very often he's been their number 1 guy, and he's opposing number 1 lines. That's
28 minutes.
That's not his strength. So I think it kind of like what they did to Suzuki. They finally took the PK minutes away from Suzuki. He was playing. Some nights he was 24, 25 minutes. It's not necessary when you have, like Armia and Evans are 2 really good penalty killers, right? Dvorak's a good penalty killer. Anderson.
Josh Anderson, I'm telling you, that's one guy that it's good he put him in that role because it helps him. When you sit as a big man, you just don't get in the game. You miss a shift. You're not sweating. You're not out there. And I think it helped him become more engaged, gave him more of a purpose other than just, okay, big man can skate, can drive the net. Still struggling to finish. We saw that again last night. The whole team, actually, 4 breakaways in the third period. You don't score.
Well, you knew that was going to come back
You're
to
done.
bite them, right?
Yeah, you're done. You know, they make that game 3-1, 4-1. It's over, you know, and
But to your point about Matheson and Hudson, Chris,
yeah.
They're I don't think there's an issue right now, or even next year if they don't move.
Yeah,
Matheson.
you don't have to worry about it now.
But when they're serious
Down the
about
road.
winning, you probably like Matheson is a perfect mentor. He's
Yeah.
a proud Montrealer. He's valuable. He's one of the best offensive defensemen in the NHL. Period.
Yeah.
One of the best offensive defensemen in the NHL. And what Hudson is doing, I mean, he just tied Chelly last night, right? 6 consecutive games with a point.
Yeah.
Last rookie defenseman to do that was Chris Chelios. He's special talent.
He's
a very
exciting
special
to
talent.
watch, that kid, right? Exciting to watch.
And you know what? I know he's gotten caught a few times. Another holding penalty last night. But he defends better than I thought he would.
Yeah.
He really manages to use his stick and his positioning. Yeah, he's very, very smart on the ice. And that Hail Mary pass to Gallagher, which I think was offside, but that's an example of what he's capable of doing. So finally, I think at the very least, we can say that the Montreal Canadiens will finally have a legitimate, could be top 5, top 10 power play in the National Hockey League for the next few years.
Yes. Yeah, I could see one day him being the man, Hudson. If you could take a Hudson and put him with that group of defensemen who were there with the Habs when they went to the final against Tampa, right? Lane Hudson and those 5 big fellas. I mean, not talk about insulation. You got a good offensive guy who can dish it on the power play 5-on-5, and he has he's become a good defender with his stick in his head. He knows he's not going to overpower guys, but there are times when he gets in there and he uses his body to come up with the puck, which is he's fun to watch, boy. He got those crazy legs. Like, it's just funny looking out there. But
the ideal partner for him would be a younger, better, and I have full respect for his and his career, but a younger, better David Savard.
Oh, yeah.
That would be the perfect guy.
For sure. So they're in this position right now. When do you think, and because everybody asks, when are they going to make the playoffs? When are they going to make the playoffs? I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, me, personally, for another 3 years. Easily. They have a shot 3 years down the road. But
not even in the mix? Not even in the mix for the playoffs?
We got to watch out what we say.
They're in the mix.
They're in the mix for
Look at this
number 1 overall pick.
They're only like 5 points out of it, and there's but there's 6 teams in front of them.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, when they stripped it and started and brought in St. Louis as a coach is a giveaway. We got a lot of work to do, and we're giving it to this guy because we think this highly of his hockey IQ.
Yeah.
And his inspirational value. Maybe he doesn't survive it.
Right.
Like if they didn't get out of this tailspin, look what's happening in Nashville. Like look at all the coaches who are more experienced than he is, who are on the hot seat around the NHL right now.
Yeah.
But I think they're very patient. I think what you want to see is real progress from the core players who are going to be there when they're ready to seriously compete for a Stanley Cup. It's no guarantee. People think, okay, it's 5 years. Let's go. We're in the final. I mean, come on.
Fingers.
But you got to pick a lane. Right? If you're for the rebuild, then you can't, at the very early stages of year 3, throw up your arms and say, the rebuild's not working.
Yeah, screw this. We're done. Yeah.
Either you're patient or you're not patient.
Yeah.
And enjoy nights, even like last night. The Capitals are a damn good team.
They are. I mean, they're leading the league.
And the Canadiens are there.
Who would ever thought that the Capitals this season would be leading the NHL? They're the top team right now. It's unbelievable.
I'm very happy for my my old pal and yours, Kirk Muller.
Yeah.
Who for years, you got to get rid of Kirk Muller. He doesn't know how to run a power play. It depends.
You need players.
you need players to run a power play. And I remember one night in Toronto, they had a 5-on-3 when Weber was the guy. Yeah. And on 4 consecutive plays, they fed Weber for a slap shot off the faceoff circle. And he either hit it in the goalie's chest or was just wide, and people were complaining, like, what kind of stupid plan is that? Yeah. And I remember Kirk saying, you think that's what I drew up? once they get on the ice, they're kind of on their own to freelance, right? But that's not what the plan was. So, Washington is one of the great stories in the NHL this season. Highest scoring team in the NHL, winning games without Ovechkin.
Yeah.
Getting great goaltending.
Goaltending's unbelievable. That kid, and to think he didn't, seeing what he did last night, to think he did not make it to Team Canada.
Well, I think the big issue there, he's never played more than 45 games in a season. He's always been a 1A or a backup guy. Even this year, he's splitting it right down the middle with Charlie Lindgren. So, who would you have pulled out of the three goalies?
I don't know, but I think I'm going to crack somebody in a minute.
How you doing?
Who could this be?
Do we know him?
I don't know.
I want so badly to rip that mask off.
Oh, I wanted to grab.
But I don't want to start a scrap in here. Although I see somebody from the Chiefs, he would have helped us out.
From
Slapshot.
Ben would help for sure. I wanted to grab that knife and trim his hair a little bit, maybe.
Or turn him Jewish.
The Canadiens, and watching them this season and last season, and I'm not putting this all on the goaltenders. We look at both Montembeault and Primo. Primo, I'll put a lot on him because I don't believe he's an NHL goalie. Not even a backup. He has struggled. He loses his net. He flops around. Montembeault, I think, is an adequate goalie for right now, but this team gives up way too many goals. And yesterday, I heard my former teammate Chris Nilan was talking about Luke Richardson getting let go in Chicago. And Chris said, really one of the things he talked about, one of the things that team had a difficult time doing is playing defense. Now, I know I'm an old crusty defensive hockey player who played on a great defensive line who could generate offense also. There is a happy medium. This team in their own end of the rink, it baffles me sometimes. Their positioning, losing guys and not sure what to do. I watch it, and we hear about the hybrid system between offense. He wanted to play offense, guys pinching recklessly, no coverage. I still think this team can improve in that area. And when they do, and still score goals, and when they do, then we'll see a team that's going to be more engaged, be more engaged defensively, but more in hockey games with a chance to win, like we saw last night, 2-1, 2-2. But they seem to, at certain times, like we saw Boston, they got one goal scored against them, and all of a sudden it was panic in Needle Park.
Right.
It was like, hello.
Great movie.
Yeah, awesome. But they
early
boom.
Al Pacino.
Yeah. They end up 3 goals in less than a minute and 10 seconds.
Yeah, this has happened repeatedly.
Yeah, that's happened a lot. They've a lot of 5-goal games, 6-goal games, and it's frustrating to watch. And I know the league is fast, and I hear all this. They're all talented. It's funny. I talked to Jacques Lemaire the other day. He came on the podcast, and we were talking, and it's the stuff he sees that I guess the average person doesn't. And we're talking. I said, how about, the breakouts, that long pass, chip it in? He said, if they brought the red line in back into the game, that, we could see how players are so good with the puck today. 5 guys come up the ice together as a group and pass their way through whatever defense is thrown at them. Then he said, but do you notice today, Chris, guys don't pass with their arms. They pass with their wrist. And I never thought of it because I remember back in the day, he said, you don't have time to pass with your arms today. It's all wrist, he said. And I was like, just the stuff he sees and comes up with. But even his dreaded trap, he said you can play it to an extent, but not the way it was done back in the day. He said there's just too much speed, there's too much movement, and they're way too talented. So I found that to be kind of shocking coming from Jacques.
Yeah, what a hockey IQ. Huh?
Yeah.
But I remember sitting when Steve Schutt was doing the broadcast, and I would sit in the booth, and he would also, like, I thought I knew hockey pretty well.
Yeah.
And the stuff I learned from Steve, and I said to him, you ever thought of coaching? And of course, he ended up being an assistant coach. Didn't work out in the end. But Steve is one of those guys who, you can't help it if you're playing alongside Jacques Lemaire. And even if you're not interested in learning the deep X's and O's and system hockey, that you couldn't help but soak it up talking hockey with Lemaire. That's why I loved sitting in the press box back in the day, sitting next to former players and scouts, as opposed to gossiping with media people.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to leave the press box learning something. And I did. I always did. Talking to hockey lifers, and also a little bit of, some of the inside trade rumblings and all of that. Same thing in baseball. I'd go sit behind the scouts. They had the jugs gun. I'd take a peek at their notes, always soak something up. They always knew that I would never blab about, what I was told. But, the defensive issues, look, even the veteran, like David Savard last night, he had a rough night, right? He had a terrible giveaway, and then he allowed Strome to walk right in and pick his spot to beat Montembeault. So I don't know where they're going in that respect, other than I think they will be. They have figured things out. They've chopped the goals against down. Look,
lately. Yeah.
Do you remember how bad the penalty kill was for the last couple of years? They finally, I don't know what took so long, of Marty St. Louis finally said, this is ridiculous. And they became much more aggressive attacking the puck carrier. The puck carrier, not allowed.
They were really passive the first couple of years.
There's too much talent, raw talent in the NHL to allow talented players time and space.
Yeah.
And that's what that penalty kill was doing. And that's what their system, it looked like what they were allowing to do. Let's keep everybody to the outside. Okay, in theory, that might work, but it breaks down when guys are confused on the ice.
Yeah.
And it was embarrassing. They were getting embarrassed playing that system. So I don't know if he's tweaked it or whatever, but there is a better feeling lately about the Canadiens and the way they're playing hockey.
Yeah, and I was feeling that last night when it's 2-1, looking good, and then the third period came, and like we said, those 4 breakaways, you knew it was going to come back and bite them. But hopefully, we see them tomorrow night play a much better game against Anaheim.
Jacob Trouba.
Yeah, right.
And Ratko Gudas.
Keep your head up. Keep your head up tomorrow.
Come
night,
out of tomorrow night with no injuries.
Yeah, that's the thing. Funny. In talking to Jacques last week, it's incredible. And you think of the people from Montreal, older people, our generation, who have seen so many Stanley Cups like yourself. He has 8 Stanley Cups in 12 years. Okay, I can't imagine having a career like that. And he saw the writing on the wall, right? After he knew going into that last one that he was going to retire afterwards, 4 in a row. He knew at the beginning of the season
he still could have played. Good hockey left.
Yeah, I know. He still could have played.
Look at Lemaire's numbers. That's why
incredible.
His numbers and his playoff numbers and his influence. And that, so when people talk about, jerseys going up, the Markov and this and the Carey Price, no. Lemaire. How about the guy who scored 60 goals, left winger? How about Toe Blake, number 6? Toe Blake was a brilliant player. It's just you can't find him on YouTube as a player. So it's like his playing career didn't exist.
Yeah.
So like before, I know every generation has their own heroes and they want their own guys celebrated. But there's still an injustice, in my opinion, of not having 25 up there.
Yeah, for sure. And certainly my favorite coach of all time, certainly my NHL days. He's the guy who had the biggest impact on me, other than Claude Ruel.
He could be in the Hall of Fame. Sorry, Chris. Lemaire as a coach? Can't you put him in?
Yeah, I don't think they.
They put coaches in the Hall of Fame.
I don't think. Well, he's in the Hall, right?
Yeah, but he's in as a player.
Yeah, they could put him in the Hall, but I don't know if they will, because the history of the dreaded trap, right? That's what everybody. It's like he got this big black smudge across his forehead. Of everybody blames him for that, and he instituted that system, and it's actually a brilliant system. Especially if you're a team playing against the team who has head and shoulders much better talent than you, and you can't really run and gun with a team like the Oilers of old.
Right.
Like not many teams could play against that team and think they had a chance. You could score 5 goals, they're going to score 7. So what's the best way to attack a team like that? To be able to defend, frustrate them in the neutral zone. And Jacques was brilliant at that, and he got that black mark against him. So I don't know if he'll ever go in as a coach. So, Mitch, looking at the NHL, and do you think it's watered down a little bit because of 32 teams, and we look at those 3rd, 4th line players? You think the number of games during the season can be they can be meaningless at times? You think it's a little bit watered down?
Well, I think they're more talented. This is an ongoing debate, and yeah, I'm 65, and I saw the greatest teams of all time in this city, and I was spoiled by it. But I'm not a traditionalist simply because of my age. I have eyes.
Yeah.
There's more talent, and the talent from all over the world,
Yeah.
and especially in the United States. That's, to me, is the biggest change,
Yeah.
is the amount of impact players from the United States, which was inevitable.
Yeah.
And I think the talent on the ice is better than it's ever been. But I also think it's easier. And when I say easier, I don't mean any disrespect.
Yeah.
But for the talented players to show their stuff, there's not the concern. That's why I mentioned Gudas and Trouba tomorrow night. Those guys, much like the one-dimensional fighters, there are very few strictly stay-at-home physical. There's some excellent stay-at-home defensemen who could skate well, but there are very few physical stay-at-home mean defensemen around the NHL these days. And to me, that's the biggest. There's much less of a fear factor for the talented players as they approach the net. That's why it drives me nuts, whether it's Kirby Dach or anybody else. Go to the net. Go to the net. What's the worst thing that's going to happen to you? There's no Shea Weber around anymore. There's no Chris Pronger around anymore.
Yeah.
Go to the net. It's never been this easier to move around in the offensive zone than it is in the NHL right now. But I've always believed this. You take Connor McDavid, drop him into a 6-team league, he might be the best player in the NHL. But you take the best players from the 6-team league, drop them into 2025 with the nourishment and the training. Like if they were, instead of being 28,
if they had the
if
same,
they were 28 today, they would be just as dominant as players. You're going to tell me Gordie Howe wouldn't be one of the top players in the NHL, or Bobby Orr if they were 28 right now? It's a silly argument. Just accept greatness for what it is. Yes, the game overall today is played at a faster pace and it's exciting, but they do play sometimes 4 games in a week.
Yeah.
And there are some nights you see it, teams don't have it. They just don't have it. And you have to accept it. It's like trying to project players out over an 82-game season. Like Josh Anderson plays hard. Brendan Gallagher plays hard. You got to figure they're going to miss 10 to 15 games a year the way they play. Just accept that. It's a completely different game. I love it. I love watching the talent on display. They're going to expand again at some point. So, yeah, it does water it down a little, but I also think there is more talent than ever before.
Yeah, it's so hard. And not – when I think back of that era, the 60s, 70s, the 70s, 80s, 90s even, when you think as a fan going to a game, you almost guaranteed 3 to 7 goals in the game.
And as many fights.
Yeah. You know there's going to be physical play. Every shift, something's going to happen that way. And then 3 or 4 fights a game. Like, talk about like the such a big difference game in and game out from that era to this era. You knew you were going to a game, something was going to happen. I think you go now and it's like you're just not too sure.
Yeah.
It's like, but
and the players who aren't stars or superstars, you see the inconsistency from game to game.
Yeah.
When they don't possess that kind of talent, it's just a lot of hockey. It's just a lot of hockey to squeeze in.
Now, I wanted to talk to you about this one player who I absolutely love, Arber Xhekaj.
Yes, sir.
And I look at him now and I think he's playing well. I think he's kind of gotten through some maybe issues that they thought he might have. How did you view that whole thing last year when he gets sent down? Then he comes back, and then this year he gets sat to begin the season. I thought they were being a little heavy-handed with him, to be honest with you. What do you think?
Well, I didn't think too much of it. To me, it's the natural evolution of a player and someone who, was overlooked when he was younger, and it was a bit of a project. And I think the way that he landed here and what he did to Cassian, I mean, instant folk hero status, as you know. And by the way, Chris Nilan should be thanked for telling Arber Xhekaj, don't wave your arms after winning a fight.
Yeah.
He hasn't done it since,
Yeah.
I don't believe.
No.
And so he's special, but he's, they're rough patches. They're with, not everybody's the same. You can't treat 25 guys the exact same way.
Yeah.
It's for somebody who says everybody's just as important on this team, and the first guy and the 25th guy. Well, that's not true, because it's not an assembly line.
Yeah.
Every guy responds differently. Some guys need a kick in the ass. Some guys are incredible self-motivators. Other guys have struggle trying to figure things out. And I just thought that was just the evolution, the whole, I hate the word process, but that's, we're watching this guy. We're watching this guy develop into a really solid defenseman he hasn't even touched, I don't think, the offensive part of his game. This is really good that we're watching him become a very sturdy and dependable defensive guy who can scare opponents and force them to get rid of the puck and defend his teammates. And then eventually we'll see another part of the game, because we've seen glimpses of him, right? Yeah. Carrying the puck all the way through. People don't want to go near Arber.
No, he got more room than anybody out there. There's no question. I worried about it because I thought they were kind of trying to temper his emotion out in the ice, and I get it. He can't run roughshod and do what he wants when he wants.
Like Marty St. Louis the other night, right? Yeah. He hated the Kirby Dach penalty, right? Yeah. As he should, and he benched him. Yeah. He said, "I like the Savard penalty early in the game. Remember that penalty? He cross-checked someone into the boards.
Yeah, early in the game.
You want to? That's a physical presence early, sending the message, and we have a great penalty-killing team. Let's kill this off." So, but he was getting caught. He was getting caught flat-footed in the neutral zone. He was caught in between. Do I pinch? Am I aggressive? He was backing up a lot. So now we see what he's capable of doing, and I think it's, I know you see a lot of yourself in him. So you almost feel personal about what he was going through.
Yeah.
But I think right now the results show that it's hard to question how the Canadiens handled it.
Yeah. He's doing well. The big thing I worried about was him having that hesitation, when you're out there doing that job. It is so difficult. You got to know when to pull the trigger, when to hold back. And I think at times, that one in New York when Carrick grabbed him and ends up pulling him down there. To me, that looked to me like there was some hesitation on his part there. Now, if someone grabs you like that, you got a green light. You didn't start it. I mean, he grabbed.
Yeah, but he drew a penalty, right?
Yeah.
He put the Canadiens on the power play doing that.
Yeah, but
so you think they've planted a seed that he's not as...
I think a little bit. They've given some hesitation, I think, which it can be good and it can be bad. As long as he continues to play with that emotion and doesn't lose that part of his game, because you get worried, you're going to get benched, you're going to get sat out if I do this, if I don't do it this time. So if he starts questioning himself when to do it and when not to do it, that's what I worry about with a player like that, because Caulfield, Slafkovsky, Suzuki, everyone, Newhook, they all feel so much more comfortable when that guy's in the lineup.
Oh, for
that's
sure.
a big thing.
And it's a shame.
It's not the old days, there's no question, but still, it's nice to have him in there. Right.
And it's a shame he or Hudson don't shoot right, because that would be the perfect defense player, wouldn't it?
It would be, the two of them. And you brought him up, but Kirby Dach. Now, I saw him quoted last week saying that he thought he might be thinking a little too much. Now, I'm not saying he's making excuses for his play, but I think, and I remember when I hurt my knee the first time, I was 27. It was my first big injury. And I remember coming back from it after 6-7 weeks. And my first couple games, I remember my first game, I thought I was going to get hurt my first shift. And I was playing like I didn't want to get hurt. And I was really protective of it. And I remember coming back to the bench. I'm going, I can't do this. I'm not gonna be able to play my game if I'm gonna be worried about my knee all the time. I got to just go. And I kind of see that in him. He's not engaged as much physically. He doesn't have that pep in his step. And I gave him a big pass at the beginning of the season here, but we're a quarter of the way through the season.
We're third. We're a third of the way now.
Third, yeah. But like
I said earlier, this might be a lost season. Like, it's very hard to research this stuff.
Yeah.
But how many players have offensive players have successfully come back from the kind of knee injury he's had? I know Malkin had some issues a few years ago, but he's an all-world talent.
Yeah.
I think Robbie Fabry.
Yeah.
He never was the same. He had a promising rookie season. He's bounced around a little bit. I think, ultimately for all of the positive prognosis, well, he might get off to a rough start, but he'll figure it out. I mean, I don't mean disrespect when I say it, but if you take a look at the top 6 players around the National Hockey League, it's hard to imagine anybody being worse than Kirby Dach for the first 27 games of the season. Yeah. He's had the ice time. He's only been benched a couple of times for bad penalties. He's on every power play until recently on the top power play unit. They've been more than patient with him. I haven't given up completely on Kirby Dach, but part of his development might be this lost season as he tries to come back from a serious knee injury. He's not the same player. I thought moving him back to the middle would force him to carry the puck. We've seen him at his best, carrying the puck through the neutral zone. He's a great playmaker, very good offensive player. The stuff around the net at MSG, that was good to see. He was involved. Yeah. Zibanejad combed him in the face and he pushed Zibanejad. But we need to see him around the net a lot more often. And I think everybody, unfortunately, because he struggled so much and he's such a key player, it seems every player he's played with has been ineffective. Whether he was on the right side with Suzuki and Caulfield, they went through 5 or 6 games. They did nothing. Or Slafkovsky or whoever he's played with have not been effective as well. I mean,
go get in a fight, Kirby.
Well, he did early. Remember against Ottawa?
Yeah. But go get in another one and run someone. Run the goalie. Do something. Listen, I know you love hockey, but boy, which is better for you, baseball or hockey? Like, as a fan, were you more baseball than hockey?
Well, I was a better ball player than I was a hockey player. Well, and here I am with my all-time favorite Montreal athletes, and they're both Boston.
And we're both lefties.
And we're all 3 of us lefties.
No, I'm not.
Terry, not a lefty. Terry Mosher. I got him right by you.
Oh, okay.
Oh, this dude.
This dude right here. That pencil did not hurt one cell.
Oh, you got your teeth back.
Yeah.
I got my teeth back.
Well, because the pizza's coming.
Yeah, right? The pizza's coming.
So I mentioned earlier, talking to Chris, I first heard you. You know this story. I first heard you. I used to listen to Larry Glick all night, WBZ Boston.
Yes, 4 a.m.
I heard this voice. He was talking about busing. He was talking about sports. He was talking about politics. And I'm going, who is this? And then you introduce yourself because you were filling in for Larry Glick.
Yes.
I went, that's Bill Lee, the pitcher? Holy shit. And I always thought if I ever did radio and I knew I was on my way to radio, that somehow, some way that you'd be a part of it.
And we are, and we will be, and we are. And I tell you, at 4 a.m, you should see the women that went to that restaurant afterwards. It was like
which restaurant?
The one where all the cops were. It was called the New York Deli in Watertown, Massachusetts. Tout fini, no mas. Oh God, it was the greatest times. Yeah, you heard me. I fill in for everybody, but I don't let them know where I live.
I've been there.
You've been to my house.
Not only have I been there, her mom's going to hate this. Our second daughter, Phoenix, was conceived at Bill's place in Craftsbury.
It says,
there you go.
It says guest room still. I tell you, yeah, we got a star on the wall for that one.
And I helped build his deck.
Yes, you did.
Bill, I said, we didn't have any money. Nothing has changed, right, in Montreal radio?
Yeah.
Bill, come on with me. We don't have money.
Except for you.
We could get you product.
Oh, it was the greatest. So I go to the Renault something.
Renault Depot.
Renault Depot. They load my pickup truck up with all this cedar wood and everything else. I get to the border and my lights don't even shine into the customs. I am overloaded. And they go, what the hell are you doing? I go, hey, this is what you get paid when you play for the Expos and you leave. Get out of here, Bill. You can do anything you want. So I drive to my house and That deck lasted about 20 years and it rotted away like most decks do. But, he doesn't get back there anymore. But he's got a new girl. He ought to bring her down.
Yeah, we were there. We took care of your place last summer. Don't you remember?
Hell no. Where was I?
You were in you were with the Savannah Bananas.
Oh, God.
We house sat for 3 days.
When you were with the Savannah Bananas.
Oh,
Ellis!
Valentine.
Hey, you said my bats aren't long enough. Here, grab that.
How are you, buddy? Nice to see you.
Yeah. I got a 40.
Hey, how are you, buddy?
That's awesome.
79 Expos right here. The winningest Expos team ever. 95 wins.
Yeah.
79 Expos.
16 of them were mine, and I didn't break a pane of glass. I tell you, I came up here, that National League, they couldn't hit that weak shit.
It's true. Ross Grimsley the year before won 20 games.
Yeah.
Throwing even slower.
Go.
So let me ask you two.
Yes.
Why look at all these people here, and I'm sure they're probably as interested. Did the Expos ever come back to Montreal? Is it going to happen someday, or we see
It
things
has
in the
to.
paper here and there?
It has to, or baseball will fail. You do not go to a foreign country and give away a team to the National League and then take it away from Quebec and think the game's going to survive. Baseball is for all the kids. That's why the Bananas are doing well. They're fan friendly. If they come back to the Expos, I guarantee you we will sell it out forever and it'll be a perfect place to be. This town is ready, but you got to build it in Brossard on the other side. You know why? Because it's closer to my house.
Okay, now that sounds like that was said with a lot of emotion.
Yeah, and thought.
Let's hear what you have to say.
I really thought that they would be this Twin Cities approach was going to happen. I know Stephen Bronfman and his group worked so hard on it. They had the blessing of a lot of people in Major League Baseball, including the commissioner. And then the executive council said, "This is cockamamie. This is We're taking an organization that is extremely well run, one of the smartest front offices in all of baseball, and we're going to make them stronger by combining the two revenue streams." So they weren't ready for that, but they were supposed to have a ballpark get the green light, and now suddenly with the election and the people, they voted down this concept of building a ballpark in Tampa. So there's still this gray area here. But
they'll be here eventually.
And I know Major League Baseball would love this market as an expansion team, but that's years away. And it can't be Stephen Bronfman as the front guy and only Stephen Bronfman. It's got to be like Stuart Sternberg in Tampa Bay. It's got to be a good Loria type, a billionaire who's got deep pockets that could lead this. Cromartie has been talking to people in Japan. Do you think Major League Baseball would allow a Japanese owner?
Never.
Yeah. So
Never.
Who knows?
That's Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
My dad, he was in Okinawa, and I was not allowed to come home with a rice burning car. That's all I know. But the main reason there won't be in Tampa is sea level rise.
They're going to escape
global. Hey, you're not running for governor again.
No,
you don't have
not
to
in
talk
Vermont.
You don't have to talk about global warming. That's
no,
okay.
Not in Vermont. We don't care, but we've had terrible floods, and as you know, it's FEMA came to my house in the last 2 years. On the anniversary of the first storm, I got hit again. I'm going, God, that's an amazing feat. But
I'm sitting between the dream ticket in America.
Oh,
you'd have everybody covered.
Well,
every voter
he
covered.
Covers the right, and I cover the left, and we both got left hands. You're looking at the light heavyweight Golden Glove champ of the island of Puerto Rico, And what happened was, I went out and I hit Ellie Rodriguez with a left hook. I tell you, a twin.
Yeah,
I tell you,
twins.
The twin. He looks more like a snake.
So, Bill, I don't know if we'll see. I hope we see Major League Baseball.
We will.
I hope, but I don't know if I'll.
Don't give up.
Yeah.
Don't give up. Get on the train, the Festival Express. We're going to cross this country, and we're going to force Major League Baseball to bring baseball back to Quebec, especially Quebec, because we deserve to be back because we were the best. In 94, we were the best. In 81, we were the best. What do they have in common? Strikes. You know what I mean? That's 2 strikes, and we don't want 3 strikes against us.
That's the big difference
Mitch,
covering
Knuckles
sports.
Hat, Bill Lee, Knuckles Hat. There you go.
Oh,
And,
my God.
I think, let me see. We got an XL here. You'll fit in an XL.
OD Green. I was
And
Army.
you will, too. There you go, brother.
I was Army.
Go with
Thank
the green.
you guys for coming
Green is
on.
good. Green is very good.
First Army. You know, people go, thank you for your service. I was drafted.
Bill, yeah, the brawl in Boston when you hurt your arm.
Yeah.
He didn't hurt
That
it.
was in New York.
In New York, yeah. Sorry, against the Yankees. Who did it? Actually, who's the one who threw you on your shoulder?
Nettles.
How'd you show? Nettles, right?
Nettles.
Yeah. I'll never forget the collective.
Okay, for those of you who've never heard this story.
Yeah.
That is Craig Nettles.
Oh, you keep him in your wallet.
57 years up against the right cheek of my ass. Today he's up against the left cheek. I rotate it. It's called crop rotation.
That's unbelievable.
So
Craig Nettles always kissing his ass.
yeah.
I'm telling you, he's up against here. The smell and the view. It's like a sled dog in frickin' the Yukon. The smell and the view don't improve for all the rest of the dogs.
Oh,
Bye, guys.
All right,
you.
thanks, Phil.
I'll leave this way.
We'll see you soon in Craftsbury for sure.
So Mitch,
That's the biggest difference
yeah.
on the sports scene in Montreal.
Yeah.
Is for 20 odd years now, and at times it does get a little suffocating with the Canadiens. There's not the diversion. We have the Owls, and they won the Grey Cup, but they don't create the same kind of
buzz.
discussion. You know, you had a baseball game every night between April and October, and so there was, you know, you could take a break from the Canadiens for a while. Now, you know, I don't think it's healthy, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well,
the coverage, there's nobody to blame. It just is. But we're a market of 4 million people, and we have one A1 professional sports team.
yeah. Well, we'll see. Hopefully someday that changes. Mitch, I want to thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Chris. It was great.
Great to see you. And
You look incredibly
fun to-
healthy.
Thank you, buddy. Well, that, you know, one reason for that, and you know that. Anyway, yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in today, and we'll see you next week on Real Talk with Knuckles, and we'll have another surprise guest.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Raw Knuckles with Chris Nilan on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.